In Lake of Kalandra, I played once again Occultist. I league started with it. Occultist called it out. However, since this league I played more than in Sentinel, um, I changed my build a little bit, and that is because when I tried to do Uber bosses, um, you know, Uber Shape or Uber Sirius, I had an issue. I did not have enough damage, and the fights took too long. I mean, it was not fun. It would take like 5 to 6 minutes just to clear the first phase of Sirius. So what I did, I changed my build, and I'm no longer using Vol Regalia. Um, for example, this was the body armor that I was using previously, and I replaced it with Skin of the Lords, which has Zealot's Oath. This body armor, you cannot change the sockets, so at least for me in my case, I'm looking for 4 blues, 1 red, especially 1 red and 1 green. What Skin of the Lords does, it increases my armor and my energy shield by 100%. So if I take it down, I have 4.3, and with it I have almost 5.5, and also increases my armor. So now I have 2000 armor, and with it I have 1600. When I'm in hideout, I have much more armor, and the reason for that is because I'm running determination. Right now I have 18,000 armor. When I use the flask, I have 35,000 and 41,000 when I activate the molten shell. Now, um, this skin of the lords also gives +2 to level of socketed gems. This doesn't apply just to your main skill, but also applies to the supports. And here's the trick: it applies to empowers. So basically, a level 4 empower would give +3, but since now it's level 6 empower, it gives +5. So this is a lot of damage. Um, my tooltip DPS on my vortex. I think this there's something wrong with it. It should be higher. Yeah. So it's 7,000 700 700,000. Um, I'm also using now while mapping. I put increased area of effect support, but when I'm doing bosses, I replace this and put it like this. For the curses, I'm still running blasphemy with frostbite. I don't run curses on hit on the rings, just because the clear speed is much better when you have a larger area of curse. Um, so because of that, when I'm mapping, I'm running the auras as follows. I'm running hatred, then I'm having discipline with clarity for some mana. Um, I'm also using um, determination. I have a little bit of vitality, not leveled to max. The same goes for clarity, and I'm having determination and frostbite with blasphemy. You can see the links here. Um, my my main damage is going to be from vortex, and once again when I'm doing bosses I swap increased area of effect, and there I'm also using creeping frost like this. As you can see, the tooltip DPS, it's 732,000 damage on my creeping frost. So basically it doubles my damage if I just do 2 5 links than using a 6 link vortex. Um, Here I have shield charge with faster attacks and frost bomb, and here I have frost blink with molten shell and arcane surge support. I think I need to replace this arcane surge with better alternate quality, but I just have this because I was lazy. Blasphemy, frostbite, discipline, clarity. Here we have determination, vitality, hatred, and elemental weakness, which I self cast when doing map bosses. Um, Now, my cold snap, my damage actually doesn't come from cold snap. I believe it's about 10% of my damage coming from cold snap. But when I'm mapping, cold snap is very good for clear. Also, for the evolve version. Um, I have a divergent bone chill with unbound ailments, faster casting, and Vol cold snap. I could replace the faster casting with um, elemental focus level 5. Uh, it's not that big of a deal because I have a lot of damage and I'm pretty much done with the league. Um, I have to show you a map real quick, but I use faster casting just because, uh, just for quality of life. Obviously, if you're doing bosses, you should definitely replace faster casting with um, probably control distraction or swift affliction or awaken the elemental focus. And by the way, my elemental focus here is still level 2. If it was level 3 at least, then I would have another +1 and my vortex would be level 31. Um, let's show you this. This is the tree that I'm running. I'm just having fun using the maps for some experience right now, because I'm pretty much done with the league. I finished challenges and everything. um, if you want to make currency, don't follow this. This was just to have fun at the end of the league. And now I'm going to put fortune favors the brave and some influence, and let's show you a map real quick how this build works. In terms of tankiness, this build is pretty tanky because I'm running determination, and because I'm no longer using what is it called, the temporal chains. I'm getting hit a lot, so that means I can put gain charges when you are hit by an enemy. What this means is whenever I'm doing a map, I'm pretty much always going to have flask charges on my flasks, uh, even when doing bosses. But now let's run a map showcase and then we'll talk about it. So that was the map. Um, Now I'm going to show you a bit of my items, what I crafted on them. Um, I took discipline mana reservation and increased mana reservation efficiency. This is from setting Exarch and Eater of Worlds, and also the enchantment from the labyrinth, and then I spammed dense fossil to craft this. The main mods that I looked was increased energy shield recharge rate, some resistances, and high energy shield. On my rings, this is a very bad ring. I have it from like day 2 or day 3 of the league, and I didn't bother changing it. Basically, you just spam Essence of Delirium on an opal ring, and then there you have it. Um, this shield is called Aegis Aurora. It is an expensive shield, costs around 15 exalts. Mm, you don't really need it, but in the end game you will eventually get it. Um, because this build compared to my last build, this build is focused. It's designed to kill Uber bosses because it has much more damage. The previous build did not have as much damage as this, so that's why I'm using this Aegis Aurora to be more tanky. That's why I'm using Skin of the Lords. This was about 2 exalts. This belt, when I purchased it, I guess was day 2 or day 3 of the league, was about 3 exalts. Um, this weapon should be around 5 to 10 exalts. Um, the gloves cost me probably 100 chaos to craft them, maybe 150, and then I didn't count just how many times I tried to get the exposure and cold damage over time multiplier um, from the Ember. So probably you're looking at about 100 to 200 chaos just to get the mods from using Eldritch currency. Now my boots, I craft them perfect fossil, make them 20 something quality, then spam deafening essence of loading to hit chance to avoid elemental elements, and then I used the Eldritch currency for chance to avoid being stunned and elemental elements avoidance. And this ring I just bought it. It has some resistances, some energy shield, mana regeneration, and dexterity. Just because I have bad stats right here. Attributes are a big deal on this build. As you can see, it's just level 96. Here are my flasks. In my previous build, you don't really craft gain charges when you are hit by an enemy. Show you real quick some of the flasks that I used before. So you craft increased duration, and the reason for that is because you're running temporal shield. So if you're following the previous build, you'll have a lot of curse effect. Um, you will have a third curse. You're going to use enfeeble with temporal chains, and another curse effect from here. So and also you will take enemy cursed, but you are hindered with 15% reduced movement speed, and pretty much you're never getting hit with that build. Um, you have a lot of area of effect, and because you have so much area of effect and temporal chains and so much increased curse effectiveness, uh, because of the passive tree, the ascendancy, and also the blasphemy, mobs almost never hit you. The only thing that hits you are bosses, and the bosses almost never kill you because um, you will have around 0.7 to 0.8 delay for your energy shield recharge, and the recharge rate would be around 4 to 5,000. Um, so that is that in the end game. But again, the only difference is if you're not looking to farm uber bosses, you don't really need to make the transition to this build. The previous build is much cheaper, much easier to obtain, and but it lacks the damage. That's the only difference. It lacks the damage, and it has much better clear speed because you have more area of effect and your curses are much greater. So you'll proc more often with your profile bloom. It's not that big of a deal. Um, but the main thing is if you're only farming your Maven, you're serious, you don't really need to swap to this build. Um, I don't know how it's about delving because I don't do delve. because this build is also much more expensive. Um, Also, the flasks will cost you about 2 to 3 exalt, I mean divines to craft them. Um, what else I need to show you? I guess the passive tree is the only thing that's left. I'm not gonna make a leveling guide here, just to show you kinda how it looks end game. I have some guides on how to level, how to progress on my channel. Obviously, they're from a different patch, so things have changed a bit, but there's pretty much is the same thing. Um, Now I have this jewel right here. Is an Watcher's Eye with cold damage by hatred and faster start of energy shield recharge. When I go to my defenses, the recharge occurrence modifier um, should be around 50%. Now it says only 10 because I'm in town, but when I'm in my hideout, it would be around 50%, 49%, which is pretty low. On my previous build, I mean, before swapping, I had zero point 0.8 or something like that because I have faster start. Um, I had another armor which had faster start, and I believe I had a shield which also had faster start, but I cannot find it right now. I guess it was this one. And I also had another armor before swapping to this because that had faster start, but it sold, so now I'm left just with this. Um, so you get around 0.7, 0.9, depending on how much faster start you can get on your body armor and on your shield. Um, for my this right here, it's a jewel with lit shade. I think it's the new jewel introduced in Sentinel. Let me find it. So it's impossible escape, and it says lit shade. This right here. You can also take Breath of Rhyme if you want. You're going to take Heart of Ice, Breath of Rhyme, maybe the 2 nodes with cold damage over time, and some skittering runes if you really want it. Here I have a Thread of Hope medium. Taking this Sanctum of Thought, this Divine Judgment, Arcane Surge for more damage, and Holy Dominion. Here I'm taking Chance to Avoid Elemental Ailments. I have Glancing Blows and Sanctuary. Um, when you are looking to buy this armor, because Skin of the Lords cannot have his sockets changed, and as you can see, it says Zealot's Oath. So basically, I don't have to spend one passive point to get this. When you're going to search for an item, you don't really need to search for Zealot's Oath. Both Divine Judgment and Glancing Blows, it's acceptable, but this was the cheapest at that time when I bought it. This mastery right here, it gives me spell damage per chance to block, which is a lot because I have with glancing blows I have 75% chance to block. Um, Here I'm taking increased damage for each of your auras affecting you. Again, a lot of damage. Increased spell per 16 intelligence, a lot of damage again, and auras from your skill have 10% increased effect on you. That's pretty much it, and it's very important that you take weak to ward. Since you're CI, you really need this weak to ward. Um, that's pretty much the build. The reason we have so much, um, we are so tanky and we don't die, is because we have so much armor and so much recovery, replenish 2% of armor when you block. So it's about what 800 energy shield per block whenever I have the flasks up and Vol Molten Shell. Um, I'm elemental ailment immune, as you can see right here, 100%, and I'm stun immune because I have my chance to avoid being stunned on my flask, and pretty much I always have chance to avoid being stunned on my flask. Here I have some regeneration because of Zealot's Oath. This applies to my energy shield, so it's 3% energy shield regen per second. Um, so that's pretty much it. This is the build. It can do over bosses. It's still not that much damage. It's about 1 million, no, I mean 80 million shaper DPS, which is really not that much for uber bosses because uber bosses take 70% less damage. So that would be like 2.4 million uber shaper DPS, and it's still very little. Uh, Again, you don't really need to make the swap unless you really need the damage. The previous build that I had worked perfectly fine. With that build, you pretty much never get hit, whereas with this build, you always get hit. Um, and I think I also need to show you another map and show you just how tanky this build is. And by the way, I will not press any flasks, but they will activate by themselves. Um, Obviously, if you are running mods like chance to block, reduce chance to block, this is going to be very difficult to run. But now I'm just going to find a pack of mobs and I'm just gonna sit in that pack of mobs and pretty much never die. Let's see. Now I'm not pressing any flasks. None at all. It's just because the enemies hit me, I get flask charges, and whenever they reach full, they will cast automatically. So yeah, this build is pretty tanky at the moment. The only thing that, um, as you can see, no damage. I can just stay here forever. Um, so the only difference is from the previous build. This lacks a bit of clear speed and cannot deal with bleeds. Maybe I need to change a flask, but it cannot really deal with bleeds right now. Because on my previous build I used the steel skin and that covered my bleed. Um, Now I have an issue right now with bleeding. I have corrupted bleed immunity from this jewel, which also has chance to avoid being stunned, which is very important. Probably I don't need it to be 100% during flask effect. Um, But yeah, I can get a few more points here for damage, maybe a third curse if I get level 100, but I'm level 96. The reason for that is because I grinded challenges, not because I pushed experience. I just need some currency, and the way I farmed currency was by taking Wrath of the Cosmos and the Eldritch Gaze, which both make the map very dangerous, but I didn't care about the experience. All I cared about was making some currency, uh, just to finish my challenges, because challenges are expensive. So this is pretty much the build. I will link a POB if necessary, um, but don't know what else to say. I mean, a league started with this build. It's definitely a good league starter. Um, I'm not gonna have an actual league starter build guide on this Vortex Occultist, um, just because we are almost two weeks into the league and pretty much everybody has currency to invest a little bit. But don't be afraid if you don't have these hundreds or tens of divines to invest in your build, because it works even if you don't make the transition to Skin of the Lords and Aegis Aurora and All's Uprising. It works pretty much very well unless you are doing Uber bosses. This build is specifically geared to do Uber bosses, and even with this investment and this much damage, which is around 8 million shaper DPS, it still struggles against Uber bosses because this build does not have a lot of damage by default. That's pretty much it. Um, Hope you liked the build, and I'll share a POB in the description.